from PRX.
Hey everybody, this is Scoots here. This is part of our summer series. This is a bonus episode that came out a few years ago, so this is the first time it's coming out. It used to be only available to subscribers. And if you like this kind of bonus material, check out, we're doing tons of stuff this summer, subscriber summer on Sleep With Me Plus, with exclusive on-location episodes from hotel balconies, catalog episodes. I'm reading a novel, all sorts of wild stuff. It's a little bit more freeform than a normal Sleep With Me episode. But if you really love episodes that are a little bit different like this one, check out Subscriber Summer. You can get access to this summer, last summer, all the bonus episode we did in the past too. But yeah, here's a little sampler, a summer sampler series, I guess. Sleepy Summer Sampler Series. And thanks so much for listening. I couldn't make the show without you. I really, really appreciate it. And I really appreciate the people who supported the show in the past, or if you're not a musician to support the show, but, you know, you support the sponsors or you're a part of our referral program. I love making these experimental episodes, so I love the chance to share one of these with you. Because, yeah, they're a little bit more silly and fun. So thanks so much. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and friends beyond the binary, it's time for the podcaster who's very grateful, one, to be here on a regular basis, for your support so I can be here on a regular basis, and for the mission and the honor I have to be able to help take your mind off stuff and put you to sleep. Or if you're new, to kind of apply for that role. But I'm also curious, how come no one ever says full of gratitude? Like when they see, you know, people have said I'm full of hot air. I mean, I don't think I'm full of gratitude yet. One day I'd like to be so full of gratitude it's overflowing. You see, what's that coming out of Scoots' ears? Well, gratitude. I'm sorry, what are you talking about? Because I thought, oh, yeah, no, you're right. I'll get back to this. It's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. And here's a couple of ways I'm able to bring this podcast twice a week. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Helix. You can take the Helix sleep quiz at helixsleep.com/sleep and get matched with the perfect mattress for the way you sleep. And oh boy, how do I miss my Helix? Can I count the ways? This summer, I've been traveling a lot, and every time I'm home, I'm so grateful for my Helix bed. And the reason I'm so thankful for it is because of what I just said. I took the Helix quiz. I got matched with the Helix Dusk Lux, which is perfect for the way I sleep. I sleep on my side. I sleep on my stomach. I like to sleep cool. And I got matched with the Helix Dusk. I picked the Dusk Lux. And all these mattresses I've slept on this summer, even ones in really, really nice places, cannot come close. And here's the best thing is it's not one mattress for every person. Helix has a lineup of 20 unique mattresses. They've got the award-winning Luxe Collection, the Ultra Premium Elite Collections. There's a Helix Plus. It's a mattress for big and tall sleepers. There's a Helix Kids mattress designed for growing bodies that's endorsed by child sleep experts. And the way you know that your Helix mattress is going to work for you and your body is you take that Helix quiz. You'll find the perfect mattress in under 2 minutes. That personalized mattress will be shipped straight to your door, free of charge. And Helix knows there's no better way to test out a new mattress than by sleeping in it in your own home. That's why they offer a 100-night trial and a 10 to 15-year warranty to try out your new Helix mattress. And Helix is offering 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/sleep. That's helixsleep.com/sleep. This is the best offer yet, and it won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now. Thanks, everybody. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, where I talk about Sleep With Me Plus. I really believe and love making this podcast. And if you do too, if you believe the podcast makes your life better, if you believe that me hosting the show is important, if you believe that the podcast coming out twice a week is important, that the variety of shows, if you believe you get something out of Sleep With Me, just takes a small percentage of you, those of you that say yes, 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 to actually take action, to believe in it so much, you sign up for and support the show at $60 a year or $120 a year, $240 a year. You support it monthly. But if you believe in the show like I do, think about supporting it directly. sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. And that's sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus and say, yeah, I believe in it. I believe I get a lot out of this show. Thanks so much. Oh, Mystery Bard, a lot of people help out in this show. Who are they?
This posty poster son sounds like an earful. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes too. Carl W. the Legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bard. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at JonathanMann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your narrators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcript.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. If you want to be a rebel, if you believe in Sleep With Me, think about, and you can afford to support the show, sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Thanks, everybody. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. It could be thoughts, things on your mind you're thinking about, feelings, anything coming up for you feeling-wise, emotionally, physical sensations, changes in time or temperature or routine. It could be something else, whatever it is. It could be any number of things. Whatever it is, I'm here to help. And what I'm going to do is try to create a safe place. I've probably said this. I guess I'm trying to speak, but I'm trying to establish a safe place. I know I've said pop-up before. I guess this would be a bit like a pop-up, a safe place where you'd say, I'm establishing it here, but I can transfer it or send it to you, no problem. No assembly required. And the way I do it, the way I send it is I send my voice across the deep, dark night. I use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, superfluous tangents. So you say creaky, dulcet tones. What is that? I say, well, that's how my voice sounds. A bit like something you don't normally hear. You say, well, it's like a big, it's kind of good and it's kind of it's kind of creaky. And you say, okay. For a sleep podcast, you say, okay, yeah, creaky dulcet tones, pointless meanders. What are those? Well, he never gets to the point, the person that makes the podcast. Or as he's trying to make a point, he goes off on a pointless meander or a superfluous tangent. So those are some of the techniques I use as I try to establish this safe place. Now, if you're new, a few things you should know. Well, did I forget? What I'm going to try to do is create a safe place where you could set aside. Set my voice. No, I think I got everything of the regular intro. Regular listeners, welcome back. As usual, I'm mixed up. But what I'm going to do if you're new, let me tell you a couple of things. Because one, and I've heard this hundreds and hundreds of thousands of times, this podcast does not work for everybody. But also, for the people it works for, it takes 2 or 3 tries. So I just want you to know that up front. And the reason I explain it is every episode is to, one, meet your doubt or your skepticism or your uncomfortableness where you are and say, well, that's legitimate to be doubtful or skeptical. Or like say, I don't know about this sleep podcast in your creaky dulcet tones. That's a totally legitimate way to feel. And the only thing I can tell you is just see how it goes, but see how it goes a few tries. Because usually on the first try, this podcast, it makes it somehow it has to make even less sense before it makes no sense at all. And I'll explain that more, but give it a few tries if you can. But also know it doesn't work for everybody, but that's why it's free too. You say, okay, I tried it a few times, it didn't work. But in the end, the people that work for it, they say around 2 or 3 tries, they say, holy moly, I just woke up. So give it a few tries. That's one thing to know. The second thing to know is as you try it out, kind of try it loosely, like a robe. There are robes that are tight-fitting and form-fitting robes, and I've talked about robes on the show before. I think one time this has been a while, but I imagined that Obi-Wan Kenobi and maybe Jean-Luc Picard went to a colony where clothing's optional. Oh, no, it's Doc Brown, I guess, from, what's that, Back to the Future. And he said, well, we're robes, where we're going, we don't need any robes. So those you wouldn't have any, but so you wear a robe or loosely wear a garment. That's actually like I think that's in a parable. And this podcast is best barely worn. You say, well, it's more draped over my shoulder, like when I'm cooking or something, and I need an extra cooking thingamajig, a towel. And you say, okay, so most podcasts are like an outfit. You're saying, Scoot. So, well, some podcasts are, or some podcasts you wear for pleasure. Some podcasts you wear for laughs. Some podcasts are functional. I mean, it's definitely podcasts that are super stylish. So yeah, and this podcast is more like, something like over the shoulder. Yeah, like a kitchen towel or a rag you throw over your shoulder. That's what sleep with me is. And you say, could you complete that metaphor? And I say, I don't know. I might try later. But I was trying to explain to the new listener to just kind of do that. Like say, okay, I'm barely listening. This is the one podcast as compared to the outfit-based podcasts. Or the outfit analogy, you barely listen to this podcast. You only kind of listen. You say, Oh, I forgot I had a kitchen towel over my shoulder. How did I end up at what is this, a Michelin 5-star restaurant? Like, there's only 4 stars? I don't know. Oh, it's a dream. Great. So that's one thing. Barely listen to this show. The other thing is this podcast really isn't here to put you to sleep. It's here to keep you company as you fall asleep or to keep you company if you can't sleep. I'm here. I'm your bore friend. I'm your bore bud. I'm your bore bae. I'm your, ideally, one day I'll be your bore bestie. So I'm here to take your mind off of stuff as you drift off and just be at your bedside telling you a story you don't need to listen to. Now, if you can't sleep, I'll be here to the end, or if you wake up. So it's kind of like I'm telling you the story whether you're awake or asleep. But I make this show just as much for the people that can't sleep as the people that are sound asleep already right now. And the nice thing is the episodes are an hour, so you have plenty of time to get comfortable and drift off. And that leads into the kind of next thing that can throw new listeners off, which is the structure of the show. Show starts off with a greeting because I want everybody to know they're welcome and they're important here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary. And then there's business. That's how we bring you the podcast twice a week. There's a few minutes of business there. Then there's an intro. And the intro is pretty long, 12 to 18 minutes or so. And it's me introducing the podcast as I'm doing right now. And for the new listener, you could say, you're going to introduce the podcast for 12 to 18 minutes. I say, yeah, it takes me a while to get going. And then I don't go anywhere. So for the new listener, it's also an example of the podcast. I mean, that's a bit meta. But for a regular listener, there's a lot of options. As you become a regular listener, some listeners fall asleep during the intro. Some listeners start the intro while they're getting ready for bed or doing their brushing and their skincare or stretching or foam rolling, or they're using like one of those therapy body devices, whatever it is. Some listeners start the intro before they get into bed. That's what I'm saying. And then other listeners start the podcast while they're in bed, unwinding and getting comfortable. So the intro kind of serves as a buffer between waking life and sleep so that you can wind down. And I can buff that day right out of your hair, or right out of, I can help you drift away. So it just gives us some space. And so that's part of the intro, is just to ease you into bedtime. Then after the intro is some like sponsors, ads. That's part of the podcast structure. Then there'll be a story. Tonight will be our a new series we're covering, GBB, Great British Bake Off. So I'll be excited to talk about that. Then there'll be some thank yous and good nights at the end. So that's the structure of the show. And what else do you need to know? You probably need to know some more stuff that I forgot. Structure of the show. Oh boy, I already got mixed up. Oh, that's the structure. Oh, why do I make the show? Well, I make the show because you deserve a good night's sleep. That's reason one. I truly believe you deserve a safe place where you can get some rest, so that your life is a little bit better, more manageable, and ideally you can flourish. And so that's one thing. The other thing is because I've been there. I know how it feels tossing and turning, waking up, all that stuff. I've been there. Needing to buffer my day away. I've been buffering about my day, So that's the whole thing is, I guess what it was, I don't know if I had another point in there, but you deserve a good night's sleep. I've been there. And I think that's it. I mean, I said at the beginning of the show, I'm really grateful that I get to make this podcast because I can relate, and because I think it's important. I think you getting the rest you need is important. And in a broader sense, you having the options to see what's going to work for you to fall asleep and establish a healthy bedtime routine is important, whether it's this podcast or a fan or another piece of sleep audio or, just, doing something else, some other routine. That is very important to me and I'm very grateful that I can provide this or be a stepping stone. I'm what is that? Is that ever, I probably talked about the grateful stepping stone. So many people stepped on me on their way to good sleep, and I had so much joy. And some people stuck around and danced on me, in the middle of the stream that I was in. And that really felt nice too. And that's really what it feels like to make the show. I don't know if you can get it's cool. I'm glamorized. You see, who was the first person to glamorize stepping stones? They say, well, there's a few architects and landscape design. No. I mean, in a Hollywood sense. Oh, that really glamorized, the life of a stepping stone. They kind of anthropomorphized it or whatever, personified it. Oh, really gave that Hollywood glamour to stepping stones, but not the actual physical stepping stones. Yeah, glamorized life as a stepping stone. I don't think there was anybody that would do that. That just doesn't seem... Well, actually, there was someone. He tried. Scooter was his name. He wrote the imaginary book in his mind, The Grateful Stepping Stone. And on one podcast episode out of 8,000, he tried to glamorize stepping stones. Then he forgot about it for 12 years till he tried to write the book. And that's why I do what I do and why I'm full of gratitude, though I forget it a lot of times. You fill me up with gratitude, believe it or not, and hopefully I fill up your ears with nonsense and pointless meanders. What a deal, right? So I'm here to help. If you're new, just give the show a few tries. I hope it can help you. I'm really glad you're here. I really appreciate your time. I work very hard at Yearn and Strive, and I want to help you fall asleep. Thanks again. And here's a couple of ways we're able to bring this podcast twice a week. Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive. Most of you aren't just listening right now. You're driving, cleaning, and even exercising. But what if you could be saving money by switching to Progressive? Drivers who save by switching save nearly $750 on average, and auto customers qualify for an average of 7 discounts. Multitask right now. Quote today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $744 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2022 and May 2023. Potential savings will vary. Discounts not available in all states and situations. Hey everybody, it's Scoots, and it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Bedtime Stories with Netflix Junior. If you have young kids and they also need some help falling asleep, I recommend checking out the Signal Award-winning and chart-topping Kids and Family podcast, Bedtime Stories with Netflix Junior. Each episode features characters from your kids' favorite Netflix streaming series like Storybots, Super Monsters, and Wonderoos, and incorporates themes like getting ready for bed and the importance of sleep, all in 15 minutes or less. Created with childhood development expert Dr. Tina Bryson, the show helps parents establish a nighttime routine where children can successfully transition to sleep while also building skills to navigate the world. Follow Bedtime Stories with Netflix Junior wherever you get your podcasts. All right, everybody, it's Scoots here, and hey, patrons, this may sound a little bit different. I'm just in a different location here, or I might but I'm going to record every episode on the same mic or the other episode you're listening to. I'm coming to you live from my co-working space. I wonder what the person in the office next to me is thinking, if they can hear me. Probably they can't, but we're going to be covering episode 2. You may hear this first. I think you will, because this is the first time I'm doing this. And even though we're talking about episode 2, Series 8, Collection 5, yeah, I think we'll see how it goes. So this is a patron-only show, facts behind the bake-off, and yeah, let's get into it. We're talking about, let's talk about Series 8. It was began on the 29th of August, 2017. It was the first one on Channel 4 after Love Productions moved the show. It was the first series for Noel and Sandy and Prue. I knew it was Prue's first season. I didn't realize it was Noel and Sandy's first season. Also, unfortunately, I got spoiled, but because I didn't know who won, but that's fine. So let's do some stuff I looked up first. The first thing I looked up from episode 2 was Zumba. And the reason I looked up Zumba is because wait 1 second. Let me just see if I can go to episode 2. Okay, no. But yeah, so Yan's wife that does Zumba. And Zumba, according to Wikipedia, was created in the 1990s in Colombia by Beto Perez. I actually had a friend named Beto, Alberto, we called him Berto. I think there was a Beto, though. Okay, but it's trademark, so we should say that. But yeah, it was recreated in the 90s. I would have thought it was around even longer. And according to the Wikipedia article, Perez forgot to bring their music to their aerobics class. And happened to have tapes of some Latin dance music, salsa and merengue, and they danced to them instead. And later was teaching it as rumba size probably. Zumba, rumba. Isn't the thing that vacuums your floor is Roomba too? Then partnered with some other business people, released a series of fitness videos sold by an infomercial. And then some companies invested and expanded into class instruction. According to Perlman, there were more than In 2012, 14 million Zumba students in 186 countries. Zumba has several meanings in Castilian and Latin American Spanish. According to Zumba, though, it's a neologism, expressly created as a brand name. And if you, Roomba Sizo is a portmanteau, so shout out to Helen Z. Roomba and Jazzercise is Roomba Size, which is kind of like a party version of Jazzercise. There's 16 core steps, 4 basic rhythms: salsa, reggaeton, merengue, and cumbia. And each basic rhythm has 4 core steps. The classes are about an hour long. Let's see, it's total body cardio, aerobic workout. You can burn, well, let's not get into the actual facts, because it has different options. You can do it at all ages, 0 to 100. I don't know if anybody that's 0 years old could do anything. Roomba size, they could listen. And of course, like all exercise, it has a lot of benefits. The annual ZinCon, Z-I-N-Con, takes place in the U.S., where Zumba instructors from all over the Zumba instructors come by. There was a Zumba cruise in 2016, and there was a Zumba Academy. They have Zumba apparel, Zumba video games. So that's a little bit about Zumba. What about wheelbarrow? Wheelbarrow is 1 word according to Wikipedia. I thought it was 2. So there's also a robot according to Wikipedia. Wheelbarrow. A wheelbarrow is a small hand-propelled vehicle, usually just 1 wheel, designed to be pushed and guided by a single person, 2 handles at the rear, or by sail to push the ancient wheelbarrow by wind. The term wheelbarrow is made from 2 words, wheel and barrow. A barrow is a derivation of barrew, from B-A-R-E-W, from the Old English, a device for carrying loads. Wheelbarrow is designed to carry the weight of its load between the wheel and the operator. Convenient carriage of heavier and bulkier loads like biscuit flour. Is that what Knowles is carrying? Oh, he's rising flour, self-raising flour. It's a second class lever or lever. They get used in construction and gardening in different capacities. A 2-wheel type is more stable, but a universal 1-wheel type, I guess it's not universal though. If there's a 2-wheel type, has better maneuverability in small places, planks in water, or when tilted ground would throw it off balance. Also, it creates greater control of the deposition of the load upon emptying. And the history, pretty extensive, so I'll link to it, but the earliest wheelbarrows in archaeological evidence were a form of 1-wheel cart from 2nd century Han Dynasty. And they were in murals and brick tomb reliefs for Emperor Hugh. Painted tomb mural of a man pushing a wheelbarrow. It dates precisely to 118 AD. There's another one from 150 AD. And a single wheel barrow in a mural in a shrine, 147 AD. Earlier accounts date back to 1st century BC. The 5th century book of later Han states that the wife of a once-born youthful imperial censor helped him push a Lechu back to his village during their feeble wedding ceremony around 30 BC. So yeah, it goes through the history into the 200 ADs. annotations into the 430s and then into the Song Dynasty. And this says wheelbarrows in China came in two types. The more common type after the 3rd century was a large centrally mounted wheel. Prior types were universally front-wheeled wheelbarrows. Central-wheeled wheelbarrow could transport 6 human passengers. And instead of a laborious amount of energy extracted on the human or the driver pulling it, the weight of the burden was evenly distributed between the wheel and the puller. There's also Chinese sailing carriages from the 6th century, land sailing vehicles. They weren't wheelbarrows. The date of the sail-assisted wheelbarrow being invented is not certain. Some of this history is seen in writings in the 1700s. And they have Greece and Rome after that. This is in the 400s. A one-wheeled cart. Different building inventories in the 400 BC's, a one-wheeler, but there's no evidence to prove it. This is just a hypothesis. So actually, most consensus says that, like the consensus from historians says that the wheelbarrow was invented in China around 100 AD and spread to the world, though one historian does say it could have existed in ancient Greece. A lot of things could have existed. So let's jump to medieval Europe. That was in the 11 and 1200s. That's when they first appeared. Featured a wheel at the front. Yeah, that's a little bit modern. There's a lot of modern variations. But yeah, that's a little bit about wheelbarrows. What do we got next? Oh, malts. Oh boy, do I love malts. And I love Liam's love of malts, and definitely some stuff I wanted to find more about. Malt is a germinated cereal grain that's been dried in a process known as malting, where the grain is made to germinate by soaking it in water and then halted from germinating by drying it with hot air. And they say, Scooch, you got some malt. It develops enzymes required for modifying the starches into sugars and maltodextrins. It also develops proteases that break down the proteins in the grains that can be used by yeast. And I know you can use malt in production of beverages, but it also malt contains small sugars, sucrose and fructose, but those aren't products of starch modification. They're already in the grain. Further conversion of fermentable sugars is in the malt mashing process. That's an alcohol. So it's used for beer, whiskey, malted milk, malt vinegar, dessert confections, flavored drinks, baked goods, including malt loaf, bagels, and rich tea biscuits. And it can be ground into a coarse meal known as sweet meal. Various cereals are malted, though barley is the most common. And high-protein form of malted barley is label-listed ingredients and blended flours. The term malt refers to products of the process. The grain switch this process have been applied. For example, malted barley, the sugar, heavy in maltose, or cereals, products based on malted milk, like a milkshake. And they've been used as an ingredient of beers in Egypt, with the Sumerians, in China, in Persia, and this is all according to Wikipedia. In Persian countries, a sweet paste made from germinated wheat is called samanu. In Iran, Samanak, in Afghanistan, Tajik, in Afghanistan, Sumalak, and let's see what else, traditionally cook it late in the night, a Finnish Lenten food known as mamimi is a kind of Easter porridge. I wanted to hear about how they, like Pruitt said, they gave it to her during the war. Let's see if that's malt extract. It's a treacle-like substance used as a dietary supplement. I think this is popular in the first half of the 20th century as a nutritional enhancer for the children of the British urban working class. Children were given cod liver oil for the same reason, but that was unpalatable. So it was combined with extract of malt to produce malt and cod liver oil. And they said nutritional extract of malt does not include a mash out at the end of the extraction. It's malt extract is frequently used in brewing beer. I think malt extract beer, so what people like, that's more of a home brew. Because I think, I don't know, I thought people said extract beer back when I drank was not good. According to the research at the end, scientists aim to discover what happens inside barley grains that become malted to help plant breeders produce better malting barley for food and beverage products. But yeah, that's a little bit about malts. How about glitter? Let's get into glitter here. Using an assortment of small reflective particles that come in a variety of sizes and shapes, glitter particles reflect life at different light. Yeah, they do reflect life, though, too. The first production of modern glitter, I think we read this before, was American machinist Henry Rushman Sr., who found a way to cut sheets of plastic, a mylar, into a glitter in 1934, because during World War II, glass glitter was unavailable. Rushman found a market for scrap plastics, which were ground into glitter. He purchased Meadowbrook Farm in New Jersey, where he founded Meadowbrook Inventions to produce industrial glitter. Decades later, he filed a patent for a mechanism for cross-cutting films and other related inventions. Today, there's over 20,000 varieties of glitter, vast number of different colors, sizes, and materials. 10 million pounds of glitter was purchased between 1989 and 2009, but there's no source with a reference point for that. Commercial glitter, and I know glitter's not great. Good glitter, don't throw it in the garbage, keep it in your house. Ancient glitter, though, this is what we're interested in. Glittering surfaces have been used since prehistoric times in arts and cosmetics. The English word glitter comes from glitterin, an Old Norse glittara. 30,000 years ago, mica flakes were used to give cave paintings a glittering appearance, and prehistoric humans were believed to have used cosmetics from a hermelite, a sparkling mineral. 8,000 years ago, people of the Americas were using galena, a form of lead, to produce bright grayish white glittering paint used for objects of adornment. Surface mining was prevalent in the upper Mississippi Valley region from 40,000 BC to 200 BC. Egyptians produced glitter-like substances from natural stuff. Mayan temples, it's believed, were sometimes painted with red, green, and gray glitter from mica dust. Why is glitter used? Prior to fabrics made with modern glitter, sequins were sewn or woven on fabric to give it an appearance. Edible glitter made from gum. Arabic is used by culinary artists like Stacy on this episode of Great British Bake Off. Glitter is used in cosmetics to make the face or nails shiny or sparkly. Additionally, is used in arts and crafts to color and accessorize. It at one point was more associated with subculture with glam rockers, David Bowie, Gary Glitter, Iggy Pop, glam rock, glitter rock. Now there is an environmental impact. And they've called for a ban on glitter made from PETE because it's a microplastic, so that's no good. But you can make biodegradable glitter from eucalyptus tree extract metalled with aluminum. It's 40% softer and more delicate on the skin than conventional glitter, and it decomposes. Can also make cellulose glitter. So that's a little bit about glitter. There's a lot of articles linked if you're interested in learning more. Let's see what else came up. Okay, we got this game, Cop It. Jumanji, the original. Let's start with that. Cop It is a running fight board game, which we'll read more about. It was created in 1827 by Otto Mayer Verlag and was originally called Fang Den Hut, or Capture the Hat in English. It was renamed and re-released several times, notably by Spears Games in 1964. It's a game for 2 to 6 players. Strategies based partly on luck and partly on rolling a dice, similar to the game Ludo, in nominally a children's game. And let's see, each player has 4 conical hat-shaped playing pieces, all the same color, that start off in their home base. So far it's like Trouble or Sorry, I forget which one. The object is to move out of your base, capture your cop or your opponent's pieces by landing on them. Oh, and carry them back to your base. A player can have any number of pieces out of their base at any time. However, while you're moving back to your base with a captured piece, other players may in turn capture your piece. The winner is the last player to have an uncaptured piece. There are a few squares on the board that are different color to rest. If a piece is on that, it can't be captured. So interesting, yeah. I mean, I guess it comes back to, some of it comes down to roles. Okay, this is like just an article about board games, ancient board games, games in the United States, other parts of the world, other media, research categories. I forgot what that's called, Chase the Tail type game or something. Let's see what Ludo says. Ludo is a strategy game for 2 to 4 players where they race their 4 tokens from start to finish according to the rules of a single die. Like other cross and circle games, Ludo is derived from the Indian game Pachisi, Pachisi. The game and variations are popular in many countries. The Mahabharata. This is Pachisi, was created in India in the 6th century, and the earliest evidence of this game's evolution is that it was depicted on boards in the caves of Ellora. The original version is also described in the Indian epic Mahabharata, and it's a big part of the story. Has been known by other names. It was modified to use a cubic die and dice cup, and then patented as Ludo in England in 1896. The Royal Navy took Ludo and converted it into the board game Euchre, Uckers. Euchres. Special areas of the board are typically brightly colored. Each player has a color and 4 tokens. So I think this is very similar, like international variants. Aggravation, headache. Oh, trouble. There we go. Oh, but not sorry. I'm not sorry because there's a difference between Ludo and trouble and sorry. Okay, cross and circle game. not to be confused with tic-tac-toe. It's a board game designed for use by race. It's a board game. The game composes a circle, 4 equal portions, a cross inscribed on it with 4 spokes, like 4 spokes in a wheel. The classic example of this game is Ute, Y-U-T. However, the term cross and circle games also applied to boards that replace a circle with a square. Ludo Parcheesi, which Parcheesi is descended from that. I don't think I've ever played Parcheesi either. I know it's popular on like TV shows. It's been expanded and copied for different games with more spokes, aggravation, trivial pursuits. What else we got? A lot of esoteric connections. They may suggest a variety of mythical, symbolic, or esoteric designs, mandalas, sun and earth symbols, Celtic, Coptic, or Greek crosses. However, the visual similarities do not prove a deeper connection. So that's a slippery slope, trying to interpret stuff that's not there. They say there's a list of cross and circle games. But I want to get to Jumanji. Now, we really enjoyed the modern Jumanji movies, like the video game Jumanji movies, but I don't know if I've watched the original Jumanji with my daughter. I'm going to have to. It's if you want to know more, though, it's a 1995 fantasy adventure film directed by Joe Johnston. Loosely based on a 1981 book by Chris Van Allsburg. First installment of the Jumanji franchise. It was written by Van Allsburg, Greg Taylor, Jordan Hensley, and Jim Strain. Stars Robin Williams, David Alan Grier, Kristen Dunst, Jonathan Hyde, Bonnie Hunt, and Bebe Neuwirth. And it centers on a board game that releases jungle-based hazards upon its players with every turn they take. One of the, like as a boy in 1969, and someone got stuck in the game while playing with his friend. 26 years later, siblings Judy and Peter find the game, begin playing, and then release the now adult Alan. After tracking, I didn't realize how closely the plot followed I totally forgot about this movie, I guess. It was released in 1995, mixed reviews, but box office success grossed $263 million worldwide, and it had an animated children's television series. There was a related film, Space Adventure, and then Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, and The Next Level. So that's a little bit about Jumanji. And then coming up here will be Scoots talking about episode 1. We're out of order, and you're off to Dreamland. Thanks, and good night, everybody. All right, patrons, it's Scoots here, and I'm trying to cover some of the facts from Great British Bake Off. Episode 1, Series 8, what do you call it, Collection 5, I think, on, what's that thing called, Netflix, and this was Peru's first season, so I thought we'd talk a little bit about Peru. And it says that she's a chancellor of Queen Margaret University in Edinburgh. She was a judge on BBC Two's Great British Menu for 11 years before joining the Great British Bake Off in 2017. Let's see. It says Prue is a dame, Prue Leth, DBE. And let's see. So in the 1960s, Prue went to Cordon Bleu Cookery School and then began a business supplying high quality business lunches, which grew to become Lace, good food, party and event caterer. In 1969, hold on, I'm going to look up how to say her name. Prue Leith, Prue, I want to say Laith, but it's Prue Leith, Laith, no, it is Laith, kind of like, yeah, and so Prue opened up her Michelin-starred restaurant, Laith in Notting Hill, Laith's, in Notting Hill, sold it in 1995. Wow, so it was open from just before 1970 to 1995. In 1975, she formed the Laith School of Food and Wine. And that was sold in Laith, Peru Laith College. And this, I saw a YouTube video, a modern one, but she was the first woman appointed to the British Railways Board in 1977 and tried to improve its much criticized catering. The catering division, Travelers Fare, was detached from the hotel's business in 1982. And on top of being an entrepreneur and running all these businesses and doing this other stuff, Laith became a food columnist. This is all from Wikipedia, by the way, for the Daily Mail, Sunday Express, The Guardian, and the Daily Mirror. Wrote 12 cookery books, including Laith's Cookery Bible. Has written 7 novels. So I'm glad we got to read this because I had no idea. I mean, you can tell like her wit is sharp and her keen intelligence and taste and just ability to put that into words. So this all makes sense. So 7 novels. The last 2 form a part of the Food of Love trilogy, which has been opted to be a TV series. Published her memoir in 2012. And then her first television appearance in the 1970s was as a presenter from a 13-episode magazine series aimed at cooking at home. She was a last-minute replacement for someone else, and she had no experience. And the director liked everything scripted, including the interviews, and she didn't like that experience. And I just saw a YouTube video where she was saying that she likes that unscriptedness of, not being a presenter on GBB. Later, is that right? Great British Bake Off, yeah. Later in the 1980s, she had 2 television programs about her and her career. Channel 4's Take 6 Cooks and the Best of the British, a series about young entrepreneurs. She was on the Channel 4's Poverty Commission. Then she came back to television to be a judge on the Great British Menu for 11 years until 2016. My Kitchen Rules, and then left to replace Mary Berry in the Great British Bake Off on Channel 4. She's been involved in food education. As a chair of the Royal Society of Arts, she created the charity Focus on Food, and now known as the Soil Association. She has a charity Training for Life, a nonprofit restaurant that trains people. Food Strand. She was a member of the Food Strand of the Grant Giving Foundation. Fair Bairn worked on the chair of the School Food Trust, and now it was known as the Trust, and now the Children's Food Trust. They run Let's Get Cooking, an organization of 5,000 cooking clubs in state schools, and she's a patron of that. She's vice president of the Sustainable Restaurant Association, a trustee of the Baby Taste Journey, patron of the Institute for Food, Brain, and Behavior, sustains campaign for better hospital food, and Prue Laith's Chef's Academy. She's active in general education, chairing Ashridge Management College, 3E's Enterprises, chairman of the governors of secondary school at King's College. She's involved in a lot of other, so she's just all around as amazing as she is on the show. And let's see. She was appointed. Here's what I was looking for. She was appointed to the Officer of the Order of the British Empire, OBE, in 1989. Commander of the Order of the British Empire, CBE, in 2010. And then Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire in 2021. So it goes OBE, CBE, DBE. And by me, proves pretty awesome. So all amazing. We're going to talk about a little bit about episode 1, which was cake episode. And the first thing they were making, or one of the things, were these Swiss rolls. And the brand name in the U.S. is Ho Ho. But we had them under, and maybe we did have them. I never had that brand. We always had the Little Debbie's brand, which may have been Swiss rolls. It may have been called something else. I can't think of it. It's known as, according to Wikipedia, Swiss roll, jelly roll, roller cake, cream roll, roulade, or Swiss log. A type of sponge cake filled with whipped cream, jam, or icing. It didn't appear, even though it's Swiss, it originated elsewhere in Central Europe, possibly Austria. It could have been invented alongside the Battenberg cake, donuts, and the Victoria sponge. Oh, maybe these are ones. Ho-Ho's, Yodels, and Swiss cake rolls. Let's see. Yodels are from Drake's. We didn't have those. Wonder if it's 666. A type of cake roll called a Yule log is served at Christmas. It's a spiral shape, and can have different fillings depending on the country. It could be coated in chocolate. Let's see, history. The earliest printed published reference was in Northern Farmer in Utica, New York. Wow. So shout out 1852, how to make jelly cake. It describes a modern jelly roll, baked quick and while hot, spread with jelly, roll carefully, wrap in cloth, and then when it's cool, cut in slices. And it evolved jelly cake, roll jelly cake, Swiss roll, jelly roll, rolled jelly cake. Roll sandwich or Swiss pudding also appears in the second edition of the Complete Biscuit and Gingerbread Assistance in 1854. And what else we got? The origin of the term is unknown. The earliest British reference to a baked item is in the Birmingham Journal. There's different styles, even ones, is there ones that are savory? Pretty much all over the world at this point. Oh, ubi one. Oh, that looks good. And a mango one in the Philippines. Oh, yes, Swiss cake rolls made by Little Debbie. So that's the one I had. Let's just see. Yodels are made by the Drake's Company, bought by McKee Foods after HB went bankrupt, similar to Hostess brand. And let's hop over here to McKee Foods. I guess, is this, it's a private company who owns Little Debbie. It's a privately family-owned snack food and granola manufacturer in Tennessee. Maker Little Debbie, Sunbelt Granola and Bakery, Heartland Brands, and Drake's Cakes. The company was founded during the Great Depression. The McKees, they started selling cakes in the Chattanooga area, and then they expanded, bought a bakery, Jack's Cookie Company. It did well for a few years, but they still wanted to expand more. But they started the business, sold that business, relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina, and sold the Charlotte plant. Then they moved back to Chattanooga in the 50s to deal with some family stuff. Then they bought back the bakery, which was renamed McKee Baking Company from King's Bakery. This is 62. Then they moved to Collegedale. And in 1991, it became the McKee Foods Corporation. In 2013, McKee Foods bought Hostess's Drake's brand, which included ringdings, yodels, and or the dogs that we don't speak of. As of 2013, McKee ships over 900 million cartons of Little Debbie products each year. Little Debbie products are cookie and cake-based snacks of dozens of varieties: Swiss rolls, nutty bars, fudge rounds. Star bars are the thing for me. Oatmeal cream pie. They're available in most grocery stores, both in boxes and individual wrapping. Named after 4-year-old Debbie. And now Debbie McKee Fowler serves as executive vice president on the McKee Board's Food of Directors. Image of Debbie was used on packaging and advertising. And then eventually moved to full color. They sponsor NASCAR, Ford Fusion. And yeah, so that's a little bit. Oh, Drake's is based in Wayne, New Jersey. That's near where my sister lives. Hostess owned Drake's from 1998 to 2012. And yeah, cool. So that's a little bit about cakes and stuff. And Scoots will be back with more about this episode of Great British Bake Off right now. All right, so the next thing, let's see what else came up in this episode here. A couple other things that caught my eye. Russian Doll. And I don't know if you've seen this series, Russian Doll. But if you haven't, highly recommend checking it out. I've been meaning to rewatch it. It was so good, and just relationally, the performances. But anyway, Russian dolls are wooden dolls decreasing size placed in one another. The term Matryoshka, little matron, is a I'm having trouble with multiple words, diminutive of the Russian female first name Matryonya or Matrosha. A set of them consists of a wooden figure which separates at the middle from top to bottom to reveal a smaller figure of the same sort inside, which has in turn another figure inside of it, and so on. The first nested doll set, according to Wikipedia, was made in 1890. Let's see. Traditionally, the outside layer is a woman dressed in a sarafan, a long, shapeless, traditional Russian jumper dress. The figures inside may be of any gender. The smallest innermost doll is typically a baby turned from a single piece of wood. Much of the artistry is in the painting of each doll, which can be elaborate. And they also follow a theme. It could be fairy tale characters, Soviet leaders. In the West, they're also called babushka dolls. First set, as I said, was crafted in 1890 at the Children's Educational Workshop. And it was one of the brother of one of the founders of the Educational Workshop, which was designed to make and sell children's toys. The inspiration is not clear, though it could have been inspired by a Japanese Hanshu doll, but those can't be placed inside of one another. And let's see, ordinarily they're crafted from linden trees. There's a misconception that they're carved from one piece of wood, but rather they're produced using a lathe equipped with a balance bar. 4 heavy 2 feet long distinct type of chisels, calipers, particular to the set of the doll. Wood carver uniquely crafts each set of wooden calipers. There's themes. There's a world record. The largest set is a 51 piece, completed in 2003. The tallest doll is 53.97 centimeters. And as a metaphor, They're often a symbol of the feminine side of Russian culture, and associated with Russia's views of family and fertility. Metaphorically, they're often used metaphorically as a design paradigm. The nested doll principle. This is popular. I've heard this in storytelling. It denotes a recognizable relationship of an object within an object that appears in the design of many other natural crafted objects. I don't know. Maybe that's not. The onion metaphor is similar when like a peeling of an onion. In 2020, the Unicode Consortium approved the Matryoshka doll is one of the new emoji characters. Let's see what else. I think that's everything. My mom had one of these from Russia. My parents went to Russia, actually they went to the Soviet Union on a trip where my dad was like a volunteer trip to help with something in the 80s, and that was one of the things they brought back. The next thing that came up is zucchini or courgette. Zucchini, courgette, baby marrow, summer squash is a vining herbaceous plant. Had some for lunch yesterday, whose fruit are harvested when their immature seeds are soft and edible. It is closely related but not identical to the marrow. Ordinary zucchini are, I was thinking of the cucumber. I don't see it there. Maybe one of those, I don't know, maybe we'll learn more. I had a cucumber for lunch, not a zucchini or a courgette. Ordinary zucchini are shaded green. Golden zucchinis, deep orange or yellow. They can grow 1 meter in length, but normally are harvested about 15 to 25 centimeters. My daughter does not like zucchini. I do. Courgette is used in British, Malaysian, and New Zealand cultures. It's loaned from the French, where courgette is a diminutive of courge or marrow. It talks more about the history and flour, culinary uses. But I just wanted to look up what courgette was because I didn't know what it was. Ramen. Talk about something that had like a sustained, like high cuisine, like the ramen. I guess you can't call it a ramen craze now because it's just ramen has become another. I mean, it was already a comfort food, but now it's more of a comfort food. Like I don't know. There hasn't been any mass market ramen places. But it is something in most places you can have an option of at least 1 or 2 or 3 good ramen places, or in the past it would have just been noodle or pho. So ramen, though, is a Japanese noodle soup, Chinese wheat noodles served in a meat or fish-based broth flavored with soy sauce or miso. Toppings such as sliced pork, nori, scallions. Every region in Japan has its own variation of ramen. And let's see what else we can learn. It's a Japanese adaptation of wheat noodles, according to Wikipedia. One theory is that it was introduced in the 1660s by a Chinese Neo-Confucian scholar. And that's how it got introduced to Japan, though historians reject that as a myth that just embellishes the history of ramen. More plausible theory is it was introduced by Chinese immigrants in the late 19th century or early 20th century in Yokohama. And there is a Yokohama ramen museum, and that it made its way from China to Japan in 1859. By 1900, many restaurants were serving Chinese cuisine and offered a simple dish of noodles that were cut rather than hand-pulled noodles with broth and salt and pork bones. Also, it would be served in food stalls. Let's see what else. After World War II, there wasn't like Japan in 45. There was not a good rice harvest, which caused food shortages, and Japanese reduced their rice production. And the U.S. flooded the market, of course, to deal with cheap wheat flour to deal with the food shortages. So from 1958 to 1951, bread consumption increased, but wheat also found its way into ramen. And then modern period instant noodles. They were invented in 1958 by Momofuku and Ando, the founder of Nissan Foods. Let's see, instant ramen allowed anyone to make this dish just by adding boiling water. By the 80s, it was a Japanese cultural icon studied throughout the world. Local varieties were hitting the market and could be even ordered by their regional names. And it's still a popular food. Now it's popular in the quick cook instant way, and then what I would consider like a higher cuisine level. There's ramen noodles, there's ramen soup, there's a variety of flavors, there's regional variations, and there's even like depending on like with the instant ramen, like you can, if you, depending on what movies you watch, you've probably seen like or pop culture you consume, like, oh, this or combining two different ones. That's on my list of things to do. But yeah, that's a little bit about ramen. Another thing is crumble. I think this was apple crumble, but crumble is a dish can be made in a sweeter savory version, although the sweet version is much more common. Sweet variety usually contains a stewed fruit topping with a crumbly mix of fat, usually butter, flour, and sugar. A savory version uses meat, vegetables, and sauce, with cheese replacing the sugar in the crumble mix. Crumble's baked in the oven until the topping is crisp. And the dessert variety is often served with ice cream, oh boy, or custard. Those savory variety can be served with vegetables. And actually, this makes me think, like, I need to make some crumbles because I'm big on buying berries, like, when they're in season, and then a strawberry, make some, I'll put, if the strawberries are getting ready to go, I'll get them ready for, like, a strawberry shortcake, and then even blueberries, I'll make those into a compote, and have that with, like, yogurt or overnight oats, and you put a little bit of that in there, really, but plus your dish. But I was like, man, I could be making that into a dessert, or say, okay, now I have blackberries and blueberries, or even this one has a blackberry and apple crumble. On what do you call it? This is Wikipedia, but yeah, popular fruits include apple, blackberry, peach, rhubarb, gooseberry, is that gooseberry, and plum. What's a gooseberry? I've always wondered that. The only place I know gooseberries from is fruit cups as a kid. Like, what was that called? Fruit cocktail. And I said, isn't this a grape? People say, no, it's a gooseberry. Gooseberry, according to Wikipedia, is a common name for many species of ribes, ribes, also includes currants, as a large number of plants with similar appearance. They're edible. They're in the history. They're indigenous to many parts of Europe, Western Asia, typically grown in alpine thickets and rocky woods in the lower country from France eastward to the Himalayas and peninsular India, copse, hedgerows, old ruins. The gooseberry has been cultivated for so long, it's just tough to distinguish wild bushes from feral ones. Nothing like a feral gooseberry. to determine where the gooseberry fits into the native flora of the islands. Common as it is now on some slopes of the lower Alps, Piedmont and Savoy, it's uncertain whether the Romans were acquainted with the gooseberry. Have you become acquainted with the gooseberry? Though there's a vague passage in Pliny the Elder's Natural History about Italy in the hot summers. Although gooseberries are now abundant in Germany and France, it does not appear to have been grown there in the Middle Ages. Though the fruit was used medicinally for the cooling properties of the juice in fevers. Fayberry was an Old English name. It's described in the 16th century by William Turner. Modern cultivation, it's used as insect habitats or for the fruit. And yeah, there's a lot more about gooseberries. But yeah, I guess that'll be it for this half of this bonus episode. Maybe I'll have myself a fruit cocktail later. Good night, everybody. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots. This is a tuck you in message. I just want to thank everybody I've heard from recently and that supports the show, like, and believes in Sleep With Me. I've been talking about, like, at the top of the show, couldn't do it without you. So if you believe in the show, you know, thanks for everybody I've heard from. But thank you particularly to people that signed up to support it recently. Elizabeth, Sylvia, and Christine, thanks, and good night. Nor, Bridget, and Rachel, thanks, and good night. Rhett, Drew, and Shailene, thank you, thanks, and good night. Benjamin, Anna, and Catherine, thanks, and good night. Terry, Charlene, and William, thanks, and good night. Josh, Courtney, and Anna, thanks, and good night. Gregor, Justin, and Barbara, thanks, and good night. Candace, Clementine, and Nora, thank you, thanks, and good night. Olivia, Tammy, and Jamie, thanks, and good night. Jamie, Rian, and Taylor, thanks, and good night. And Vivian, Christine, and Warren, thanks, and good night. Thanks, everybody who makes this show possible. We can't do it without you. And if you're listening, thanks. And if you're listening and you've let me know, or you can't support the show, I've been let know by other people how important the podcast is to you. And don't worry, I'm here for you. I appreciate it. Thanks and good night.